and I'm here to introduce Ms. Reena Gupta, Director of the Office of Learning Support at Ashoka University. She is a driving force in inclusive education. She spearheads a comprehensive framework for students with specific learning needs and is reshaping disability management in higher education. Through collaboration locally and abroad, her innovative approach sets new standards for inclusivity, establishing Ashoka University as a beacon of support for diverse learning needs.
Along with her, we have Mr. Rahul Batra, an advocate for conscious capitalism, who has collaborated with Nobel Prize laureate Professor Mohammad Yunus to drive social innovation in Indian companies. With experience in clean energy startups, health tech ventures, and global M&A, Mr. Batra brings a diverse skill set to his role. An in-seat MBA with a passion for learner-centered education, he spearheads institution building and growth at Prakriti while indulging in squash, skiing, and exploring pedagogy and spirituality through reading. Ms. Gupta and Mr. Batra are here to talk about liberal education for student empowerment and inclusion. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
So I guess, Reena, let's introduce ourselves, maybe some life story and what do you do currently?
Hi, thank you everyone. Thank you, Ravi, for including this very special topic in this symposium. I must mention it here that, this, of course, as a topic was added later, a little later when the program was designed. But that's the whole idea that I want to talk about, that let what we are talking about today, let this not be an add-on. Let this be a part of any conversation that happens anywhere in the world, especially in our country, because our country really doesn't talk about inclusion for specific learning requirements. So I started with that, but yeah, I'll introduce myself like Rahul is asking. So I feel that I am a walking, talking example of a liberal arts and sciences person or a student or a learner, because what I'm doing today is after I have experienced many other careers. When I was in classes 11th and 12th, I was a science student. I was a PCM student, physics, chemistry, math. I was also a student whose parents wanted me to be an IIT graduate. So I did sit for the IIT exams. Of course, I didn't get through because, of course, I hadn't worked hard enough. I was interested in architecture, and I got through also, but for that, there was a condition that my parents had to pay something, some amount to be paid there to get into that college. And somehow my values, my morals, I don't know where they came from, but they said, no, I am not going to pay and go into an architecture college. So I left that. Later on, I picked up textile designing as my career. So for almost like 13 years, I was a textile designer. And to answer one of the ladies' questions who had asked the question to Mr. Vivek Atre, that changing career, somebody was asking here. I changed my career when I was 32 years old. So from a textile designer, I became a certified educational therapist. I trained myself into understanding of learning disabilities, invisible disabilities. I trained myself into assessing these conditions. And today I am the director of Office of Learning Support at Ashoka University. And it has been quite a journey. I would, in fact, as Rahul and I, we go along in our conversation, I'll talk about, how it actually came through. So that's a little bit about me. But let's go to you, Rahul. How did you get into this concept of inclusion?
Just huge compliments to you and your work at Ashoka University, that, a big university like that is offering pathways to learners with difficulties and disability. So it's a great step. I'm sure this is great work that you're doing. Thanks. So, just a bit about myself. I, like all of you, I was a typical student. I dabbled into the math sciences, all of that. Academically, I was loving math when I was in grade 10, but I was also loving history. But as we have to choose the PCM, right? At that time, I had to go to do typical science and math. And very soon I realized I'm not going to be a physics major or a chemistry or an engineering major. So I ended up doing my undergrad in math at Delhi University. And then that led me to finance. And that led me to the first job after my master's. Now, what was very clear to me was that math, statistics, finance, while it's okay to keep me academically motivated, it's not fulfilling me in terms of my relational skills, what I wanted to do in terms of my work. So my first job was actually a people management consulting work. So I actually spent 5 years in a consulting firm that was basically providing solutions for people management. After that, I did my MBA, and I wanted to generalize, so I went to INSEAD, one of the MBAs, and it's based in Fontainebleau. So from INSEAD, I went to mining, I went to private equity, and then I went to doing my own entrepreneurship. And then somewhere along the lines, after winding up my 2 ventures, I started working with Professor Mohammed Yunus, and that became another turning point in my life on actually applying all the social, the social understanding, the understanding of how impact happens onto the field. So somewhere, work with Mohammed Yunus contributed me to getting back to my family enterprise, which is already a social business, which is a school, and that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. So Prakriti is a school for the individual. I would love for all of you to visit it at some place. It is a place where we say we learn for happiness. It is the mission of the school is actually to connect a child with his or her inner being. Now, the secret is how do you do that? And it's not an easy job. It requires immense patience on part of teachers as well as parents. So through the panel, I mean, you feel free to ask me some questions around it. Happy to answer, but more so, would love to welcome you to see some of our practices. So, Reena, if I may ask you, why is being liberal important for your kind of work, for your success of your work?
Well, I feel that, my kind of work is working with a population which comes under diversity, right? And learning about and from diversity, I feel increases the power of liberal arts education. And this is something that I have seen happening at Ashoka University in last 9 years that I am associated with this university. Because Ashoka, like the first undergrad batch, started in 2014. And that was the time when I had started my conversation with Ashoka. Because when I learned about, liberal arts is something which is new in India. And for any higher ed institution to accept diversity of disability in their university, they really needed to understand what liberal arts is supposed to be. So when I approached them and I explained the reason why Ashoka should be the university who should bring in the diversity, because if they are looking to create students who will be global leaders, who will be critical thinkers, who will be problem solvers, it's not possible unless they work and study with students who come from different backgrounds, right? So that is where I started, and when I had this conversation with them, it didn't take me much time to explain to them. They just got it. They said, this is something that we want to do in India, and you please bring this concept here. And over the years, I have seen how this has transformed how the community, the faculty, the staff, the student body. So I feel that liberal arts is the understanding, the real understanding of liberal arts is at the core of learning and understanding disability. And when I say disability, it's not only the physical disability, it's the invisible aspect of it. I don't know how many of you are aware of the invisible disabilities such as dyslexia, dysgraphia. Though in India, of course, people came to know about dyslexia when the Tare Zameen Par movie came in. Right? That was the first time when people understood what actually dyslexia is. But now, of course, we have, as a society, as a community, we have come a long, long way. So liberal arts, yes, is at the core of understanding learning differences.
Once again, amazing.
Yeah, but that also brings me to the question for you also, Rahul, that, like you said, this is something that you had started 5 years back. The work that you do at Prakriti.
Right.
How does that translate into your work?
So Prakriti is a 13-year-old school. I came in to join the place 5 years ago. But Prakriti is also inclusive. So we also have in every class people with visible and invisible learning difficulties. So I can relate to that and completely. And from my perspective, being liberal in education for the school, it's about giving the child the freedom to think and express himself or herself. So, that freedom comes with a lot of Socratic dialogue. It comes from a space that educators provide where there is non-judgmental conversations, there is free dialogue, there is all perspectives are welcome. The educators help the child develop a relationship with the object. Liberal education is about developing a relationship, developing that drishti with which you see something. If I ask all the red uniform students here and some blue blazers out there, how do you define sun? If I ask you, what for you is sun? The sun that shines. Do you want to just say a few lines? What is sun for you? No one? Say anything. A giant ball of gases? Source of light? Huh?
Life.
Energy? Star? Source of light? Right? And? Sorry? Though no life. Okay. So yeah, there are three ways to talk about sun. Right? Adhibhuta, which is the gross matter, right? Sun is the ball of gases. Adhideva, that it's a celestial body, right? It's something made by God and we don't know enough about it, right? And the third is, it's a source of inner light for which we have to look within, which is called Adhisattva, right? So all of these perspectives are a way for an educator to develop a relationship with the object, right? Education is nothing but developing that relationship, changing the drishti with which we see things, whether it is chemistry, biology, mathematics, or anything in hand. If you look at chemistry and you look at chemical reactions inside a body, your perspective changes, right? So if you look at biology from the point of view of understanding why are we the way we are today, right? If somebody traverses that with you, your perspective on biology changes. Right? So education or liberal education is about drishti, is about the way you build that relationship with the subject. It is about freedom to think and express. And finally, it is about developing the soul. I think none of us progressive educators would say, and now this is a question for educators. I think it's a banal question, what's the purpose of education? I'm sure nobody will say here that it is about getting jobs, right? All of us will say, developing, any thoughts, educators, any school principals? Exploration. What else? Purpose of education. Transformation. What transforming what? Self-realization, big word, self-realization. Okay, I can take that and work with this. Changing behaviors, okay? So nobody says employability, nobody says getting a good job or happiness is a byproduct anyway. So purpose of education is, as everybody, all of you are saying, is doing something bigger, is self-realization, or as Sri Aurobindo has said, soul development, right? So the purpose of education is soul development. How does one develop soul? It's easier said than done. How does one develop soul? So in classrooms, what the educators do is about developing that relationship with yourself using the context of study. So using the context of what you're studying, if you take the child deeper with the inquiry, that has an impact on development of the soul. So there are various ways, and this journey of soul development cannot be achieved entirely in the classroom, but as educators or as schools, we need to think, how are we contributing in that process? So just to give you an example, a student of mine, right, he's extremely passionate about reforming on a particular issue in the society. He's quite passionate. He writes articles and books around it, and he wants to work with the stakeholders on this issue. However, under the pressure of his parents, he wants to drop school completely. He wants to go for IIT coaching because he's also good with physics and math when it comes to written physics and math solving. He has never built a machine. He has never shown an interest in actually creating a product or building anything, yet he wants to drop the school and compete in IITs. Now, I hope somewhere he develops his soul, somewhere he develops the relationship with the object, he gets to pursue the social reform agenda that he has in mind. I really hope. But will the unilateral system of education help him develop that? Will the unilateral system of doing the IIT coaching at a coaching center and going for the GE exam, will it help him do that? That's the question. So that's what I ask of the educators, and try to kind of move from the unilaterality of the subject to actually seeing it from multiple perspectives, to helping the child develop that relationship and bond with the subject. So that's why liberal is important for me and for our work that we do.
Yeah, exactly. And that also brings us to the point, that when we have, especially this is mainly for, I'm happy that we have some students also sitting here, because as students, we have some role models in our life, Is it okay if I stand and talk? I think, okay, so here it is. I consider myself as somebody who has ADHD. How many of you are aware of this term? Right? Oh yeah. So this population, we all know about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. For me, I think that's what I am if I go and get myself diagnosed. It's very difficult for me to sit and talk. I'm sorry, Rahul, is that okay? I would really prefer, I need to walk and I need to be seeing everyone. So coming to the point of what your role models are, I'm going to give you some names, some very popular names, and tell me how and what they are popular for. I think somebody had already taken the name of Steve Jobs. We all know of Steve Jobs. Yeah? What is he popular for? What is he famous for? Apple, right? Okay, Walt Disney. Mickey Mouse. Sorry? Marvel, okay. Who else? Okay, let's come to India. Veerdas. Sorry? Okay. Bomani Rani, actor. Do you think these people are gifted or, in some sense? Steve Jobs, Bomani Rani, Veerdas. Do you know Walt Disney, Akbar the Great? Do you know all these people have had some or the other form of a disability? Yeah? Veerdas has been openly talking about learning disability. He is dyslexic. Boman Irani has been talking himself to be dyslexic. Steve Jobs has been telling that he is dyslexic. Elon Musk recently had come out and talking about himself being on autism spectrum, right? So all these people are in the classrooms, the budding entrepreneurs, the budding popular, famous people are sitting in our classrooms, are sitting in our schools. It's up to us as the decision makers, it is up to us as the educators to really identify and understand these learners so that they don't have to go to the countries like US and UK and show what they can do. They can very well do that here in India itself. And that's exactly, Rahul, that's exactly what we have tried to do at Ashoka University. And that is what liberal education should be able to bring to any school system or to any higher ed education, right? And that is where give it to you, Rahul. How does it translate into your understanding?
No, I think for us, pretty much it, because I also said that we have inclusive classrooms and we have to do pretty much the same. It all is about how do you work for the individual. One thing I would just say is that almost all learning opportunities today can be seen as interdisciplinary and, applying liberal arts and sciences. For example, any climate change project today, if you are about to go out to clean a pond, or you say a river embankment project or whatever, it's all about impressing upon the community. It's about rallying the community effort. And that is impossible to do without a creative side of it, without theater, without art, without thinking the script on how will you talk to the community. Of course, the science comes in, you do your pH checks, you do your lab testing, and you do all of that of the waters when you're cleaning the pond. But, could you have done this without art, right? No. If you're studying the India's, the most, or the world's most ancient civilization, the Indus Valley, that is Sindhu Saraswati, is it enough to study it from the point of view of pottery and archaeology that there is? Or there is power in understanding the language of Shruti there, the language of Sanskrit out there, also understanding what was the role of women in that society and how did they survive without kings and any wars, right? So the deeper you immerse in any subject, right, not just from the perspective of social sciences or sciences, the better and the more informed your judgment of the discipline is. So for us too, I think being liberal is empowering. It empowers a child to uncover his or her interest in the domain, which otherwise may get unnoticed.
And it also, according to me, Rahul, it also empowers the community. It also empowers the other students who are studying in these colleges and who are studying in these schools. And I'll give you a few examples from my experience that I have been, working at Ashoka. I'll give you a very concrete example of a particular student who is on autism spectrum. And when he attends the classroom, we have quite a few. We have about, I think, 11 to 12 students who are on autism spectrum. When they are sitting in the classrooms, these students have specific behaviors which can be disruptive to the classroom, right? And this is, I'm talking about a higher ed classroom, right? Now, what is happening? I'm just telling you how it changes the culture of an institution or a culture of a community, the liberal arts. Now, this student who is disrupted to the classroom, of course, we as the Office of Learning Support staff members, we have been guiding and teaching the faculty members how to manage this particular student in the classroom. But more than us, it's the peers. It's the other students in the classroom who have been able to work with these students, with this particular student, with the strategies. how to be in a classroom and what is requested, what is accepted, or what is expected of you in a classroom is what these peers give to this particular student with autism. More than us as an office, it's the peers. And these are the peers who come up to us and say, "Ki, ma'am, we have some events happening on the campus. How do we make it inclusive for all kinds of disabilities that we have in our campus?" We have the peers who have dyslexia, or who have visual impairment, or who have hearing impairment, or who are on autism spectrum. How do we make each and every event of our campus, of our institution, fully inclusive? And I see that the change over the last 9 years, initially it was extremely challenging, let me tell you that. It was difficult for us as an office to convince or to justify the presence of students with different learning conditions in the classroom and on campus. But today, because these students have been equally successful, they are at par with everyone. In fact, they are doing much better than many others. Now that has proven the concept that inclusion does work. It does change perspectives. Unless you bring these multiple perspectives and you bring this multicultural concept into the classrooms, students, people do not evolve as learners or as lifelong learners or as problem solvers.
Yeah.
And that's what...
Yeah, and I must add that in real life, you're likely to work with neurodiverse people. In this incidence of neurodiversity is only rising. When you go out in workplace, any project, any team is likely to have a neurodiverse person, right? So just be aware of that. There's the skill building that we are doing in schools or colleges now. Is going to pay dividends much later.
Yeah, and the other major goal of, as per my understanding, another major goal of a liberal arts education is self-awareness. And I've seen that, unless a student is sitting or interacting with somebody else who is totally different from them, the self-awareness does not come in. Because, as I see it, that, if you, I think there's an old saying also, if you are in the picture, you won't be able to see the picture if you are inside it, right? If you won't see a complete picture if you're already in the frame. You need to move out of the frame to be able to see the entire picture. Correct? And that's exactly what the liberal arts, brings into any student's or anybody's life. And that's what it has done to me, at least. I have, like I said in the beginning, I've gone from different careers and different goals of my life to now what I am doing. And it has completely changed my understanding of individual differences. If you remember, at least I remember when I was in school, and if there was any student who was not doing well in academics, can anybody tell what we used to say to those students? If anybody is not doing well, there used to be a term for them. Lazy and dumb, and in Hindi we used to call it nalayak, right? Now that lazy and dumb has a new understanding now. Not a meaning, but it has a new understanding. Maybe somebody has a learning difficulty. And that's why it's important for us to understand the individual differences that each one of us bring to the community and to the society and to an educational institution. So that's how I sum up the liberal arts and sciences education in terms of inclusion and student empowerment. We need to empower every student, whichever background, whatever abilities they come from, and that is how we evolve as a society and as a community.
Yeah. So for schools, I would just extend that. I think it puts in a lot of onus on educators to build that space in the classroom to allow dialogues and allow a free thinking space. Almost conduct every class as a Socratic process. It does require patience, and it does require sacrificing of some syllabus goals that schools have. So I would really urge all educators to go slow. There is enough to cover. but there is also enough depth to uncover. So that's how I would that's how you would create a culture of liberal education in schools.
Right. No, so, well, I'm wondering if anybody has any question to ask, based on what we have been sharing about learning differences being in the classroom, we'll be happy to answer. Yes.
About self-reflection and empathy, because we talk about how important it is for the students. For the students, all of the sessions from the morning, we've been emphasizing on being helping them, being reflective, empathetic, freedom to talk. So how do educators train themselves on this and be mindful about taking these elements in the class as we engage with them?
In fact, okay, I'm standing again. So, the letter D in the disability can easily mean difference. It can stand for difference also, but in a context, we decide to talk it as a disability. It's all about the mindset and the attitude we have towards these different conditions. And believe me, all these mindsets and attitudes come first from the adults.
Right.
And then it goes to the students or to kids. And so we as adults, we as educators, we as parents, this is our first responsibility to be aware of it. And that's where everything fails and falls in India, because any teacher training program does not address this problem.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No teacher training program addresses the understanding aspect of learners. It's mostly about the curriculum delivery.
Yes.
It doesn't go into understanding a learner's perspective. And that is where we have been working on creating some teacher training programs for this. And so that's the role of an educator, and that is how you translate this whole concept to the students.
Right.
So I agree, this aspect is missing from a teacher's education, teacher's qualification, which needs to be addressed at a much bigger level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
However, social emotional learning is an area that I think all educators are getting aware about. And there are enough courses available. There is a framework by the Dalai Lama Institute as well on this, C-learning. And I think good schools are investing in that process of educating the educators on SEL.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else who wants me to stand and talk? Ask a question, I'll stand. Anybody? Anything from the students? Yes.
I'd like to ask, why is conforming to society such a common feature seen in the Indian education system?
Yeah. The non-conformity and conformity girl.
Okay. Can you say that question again? Why is conforming?
Why is conforming to society such a common feature seen in the Indian education system?
Right.
I think because it's the easiest thing to do, and the adults expect that. So anyway, I'll answer that later. You please go ahead.
I think conforming to society, in any society, it doesn't happen only in Indian society, but here, because of our aspirations, because of the growing country that we are, right, it just multiplies, right? So you see it much more in terms of, the standardized definitions of success. But it's not that it's a problem of our society or whatever. And that's why the approaches of liberal education are here to break free that mindset, to educate the parents and the teachers that one doesn't have to achieve success in a particular way. You can have a web of skills with which you want to spin your yarn with. So So I think, yes, you're right. Unfortunately, it's a function of our economy. It's a function of our the way we have been, the way our education was industrialized as well. We are all product of a colonialized education, right? Let's not forget that. We were very different. The way India was educating before Lord Macaulay was very different. And, the way it has educated from the points of 1900s on, right? So, yes, I mean, there is a fault that we need to correct, and schools are correcting that. There are, the good schools that are here now are actually doing a lot more job on parents and teachers and career counselors are here to do all of that.
Yeah, exactly that. The landscape is changing now. That's the whole idea of bringing in this liberal arts and sciences education to Indian education system. Because we have been too used to too much about conformation. Just do whatever the other people are saying. Just do what our adults are saying. Just do what our parents have been saying. This is exactly what we are trying to promote as liberal arts promoters, that, question it. Question, and that's exactly what you have done. So we are moving from that stage. Every society, I feel, evolves, takes its own time to move from one stage to the other, and I think we are in that transition phase. And that is why we need many, many more colleges, universities that talk about liberal arts. And we need many more symposiums like this, which just talk about liberal arts. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir and ma'am, but I actually have a follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
How should schools go about integrating specialized learning into their curriculums?
Specialized, you mean so many disciplines we speak about, philosophy, sociology, all of those, or how?
Actually, sir, including the disabilities, there are...
disabilities?
Yes, sorry, disabilities. There are specialized way of learning like visual learners, auditory learners, etc. How would schools go about integrating such learners into their system?
Yeah, I think, the first step, if you ask me, the first step would be to actually have different learners on the school premises, right? Unless a school has students with different learning needs or physical needs, they will not be able to do justice to what they are teaching, right? So a school has to be open to taking in students who may not be a conventional student, but who will bring a lot of value to the institution. And this is something I am saying from experience that we see. Somebody asked me, Ashoka University is academically extremely rigorous university. How does a blind student do computer science in that university? We have 5 students who are 100% blind, and they are doing fully CS majors, eco and finance major. Right? We have moderate to severe autistic students who are doing pol science, right? So anybody who comes and asks you, how can you have a blind student sitting in the classroom in a STEM course? But that is happening, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Unless an institution actually gets these students on campus, things will not change. The different kinds of learning styles that you're talking about is exactly what a school needs to first understand, the school needs to first learn, and that is how it's going to be percolated down to the student community, and of course, to the staff members and the faculty members. Right? Yeah? Okay?
Thank you.
Okay,
so,
I think
time's
up for us. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.